Bafchi of Likkutei Torah, Sefer Vayikra. This is Parshas Metzorah. We'll be doing the whole parsha. It's just the one on the one daf parsha. So the pasuk says, that this will be the laws of the Metzorah on the day that he is purified. The Metzorah is the one who has tzara'as, who has this skin disease, which is caused by spiritual deficiencies, and this is how to purify him. So now in Eitz Chaim it says that the cause of tzara'as is chachma leaving the person. Now we know that there's 10 spheres, and the highest of the 10 spheres is chachma. Without chachma, the person is severely deficient. It says that a Metzorah is considered like a dead person, and we see in psukim that connect death with an absence of chachma. It says yamusav le'er chachma, that they'll die, but not with chachma. So we need to understand what this is about. Now, there's two main parts of intellect. There's chachma and bina. What's the difference? Chachma is conceiving an idea, and then bina is developing that idea. Now, when you have chachmas, then you just have the kernel, you just have the flash, whereas bina has the full development and a deep understanding of the idea from all perspectives, and the length and width, breadth, depth of the idea is all there. So therefore, because you have the full picture, therefore it says that the mother of children is happy. Now the mother is bina, which gives birth to the detailed idea, not just the original conception which comes from chachma, and it's happy because it through understanding in detail, that's what creates the feelings of love and joy and passion. And in general, bina is looking upward. It's trying to understand and really take in the chachma. So it's trying to get beyond itself and beyond the world and understand what's above it. Whereas chachma is downward focused. That chachma is just about with humility and bitul, self-nullification, fulfilling what Ein Sof wants, actualizing Ein Sof. And therefore it doesn't even have the strength to go up and look upward. Instead, it's just, what does Hashem want down here? And therefore the bowing in Shemoneh Esrei is related to chachma, because how do you come up with the idea in the first place? The original conception of the idea comes when you just let your inner soul express itself. Whereas once it has done that, then to develop that idea, to understand its details, is looking upward, which is bina. So therefore, chacham is related to shuv, which is about just doing what needs to be done, whereas bina is related to ratzoi, which is about the passion to go up to Hashem. Now, in order to have godliness down here, which is what shuv is about, letting Hashem's light come down here. So that is through the vessels. What are the vessels? That the words of the Torah Shebachsav and Torah Sheba'al Peh, the written Torah and the oral Torah, and these are connected with thought versus speech. The written Torah is connected to thought, and then the oral Torah to speech, and that's also connected to Leah is thought, and Rachel is speech. And through chachma being revealed downward in the middle, so then chachma can come in to be expressed in words, and these are the words that we're talking, words of speech, thought, and of speech. Kalim, vessels, and words, which is thought and speech, are both made up of words, which are vessels that hold ideas. that comes from chachma, which descends downward, shuv, whereas bina, which ascends upward in Razoi, that would not support kalim. And therefore, when chachma departs, so that's when saras appears. Because when you have a passion for Hashem, a holy passion, so either you translate it into something good practically, otherwise it turns out to be something bad practically. So after a davening with inspiration and with passion, so you need to continue that on in a holy way. Otherwise, it'll come out in a bad way. If you don't learn Torah after davening properly, so then it will come out as kapeda, being bothered by other people, or angry, or arrogant, or into negative desires. Now, there's different types of Torah. So Ace corresponds to Leah, and Sapachas and Baheres correspond to Rachel. Because Leah is one level, it's the level of thought, whereas Rachel's two levels is speech and action. And this also links with the name Metzorah, that the one who has tzaras, who has this spiritual skin disease, is called a Metzorah, and it comes from three words: motzi shemra, someone who expresses something negative. In other words, someone who slanders someone. But to be motzi shemra literally is to express a bad name. And the Chazal say, the rabbis say, that the whole Torah is names of Hashem, and therefore a bad name is the opposite of what would be a good name. So the kalim, the words that hold the holy things, ideas of Torah, so that's a good name. And then instead of that, the tzaras is when we have a bad name. Over the page on Tzachafei, and tzaras, like it says in Eitz Chaim, tzaras comes from klippa, taking in energy. Now, we see the word name used about different in different cases of bad people. It says about the haflaga, the ones who wanted to build the Tower of Babel, that they v'nasal on shame. Their motivation was, let us make a name for ourselves, or however you interpret that phrase in the pasuk. Similarly, within the Nephilim, it says that they were anshe shem, men of name, of renown. And similarly with Korach, he calls them anshe shem, because with Korach, who was a Levi, his debate with Aaron was that he didn't want the Levim to be subdued and less underneath the leadership of the Kohanim. Aaron, as a Kohen, his job was to bring down bring down Hashem's light from Chachma, whereas the Levim, their job, their style was to elevate up to Hashem. And that is good when it comes together with shuv, together with descending to doing the job. But when it's by itself, it could be destructive. Like it says in Zohar that the left is always included in the right, but Korach wanted the left to be something of itself. The left represents elevating up to Hashem, whereas the right is coming down here and making the world holiness within here. And that by itself, the left by itself is no good. Rotzi by itself is no good. And from there, this develops and evolves down here as shame rather than as a bad name. Now, this same word can also be read as sham there. Now, we know in Hasidus that here represents holiness, whereas there represents unholiness. Like it says, V'sham yomos, so there they will die. Whereas here is when you can point and see, and that's holiness. So the Metzorah is considered like the dead, and whereas sham as well is related to the dead there, and therefore that's another link to between Taras and Shem or Motzi. Besides Motzi Shema, also Sham. Base. Now, how do you fix Taras? It says that you bring, if someone has Taras, you bring him to the Kayan, because the Kayan, like we said, is about Hamshacha, bringing down Hashem's light, bringing down from Chacham into worlds. And when that happens, so then the shuv, which comes with Chachma, has an impact. It breaks through into bina as well, which is the Ratzah as well. And that was the idea of Yaakov's, the spiritual idea behind Yaakov's relationship with Rachel and Leah, that Yaakov is the same letters as Yibaka to break through, and breaking through both the machshava, which is the thought, which is Leah, and Dibra's speech, which is Rachel. Now, the pasuk we began with is Zois Tia Torah Metzorah, that this shall be the Torah, the laws of the Metzorah. And since the Metzorah's problem was that missing out on Chachma, that's what caused the Tzaras in the first place. So therefore, the solution is learning Torah. Like it says in Medrash, that the Torah is the healing of the tree of life, and therefore that's what heals the Metzorah, the Motzi Shemra, the slanderer. That through Torah he brings down from Chachma, and that is a pasuk Tov Shem Mishem and Tov, that the name is better than good oil. So now oil is connected to Chachma, and therefore the solution for the Motzi Shemra is Chachma, which is this good oil in Torah. And when we fix up the shame, the name, so that's like fixing up the menorah, because each mitzvah that we do is bring down oil, and oil is the solution for the shame ra, like we showed before, from demonstrated from the pasuk earlier, Tov Shem Mishem and Tov. And therefore the purification of the Metzorah is through learning Torah, which Torah can't become impure, and therefore the Zohar says that Torah is the healing. Now the source of Torah is from Mochas Dimah, from the hidden intellect, which is from intellect as it is beyond Hishalshlus, beyond the chain of worlds. And Mochas Dimah, because it's beyond the 10 spheres, it has the power to sweeten dinim, to fix up din's severe justice. And therefore, when the Tanoim and Amorim were occupied in Torah, so then they could break nature, and despite the high level of their Torah, so it says that that you bring the one with Tzaras to the Kayan, because it's only special when it's done with bitul, and with shuv, that in other words that the learning is not an intellectual exercise or because of the person's pleasure or show how special they are, but it's just about doing Hashem's will. But if Torah would be only for itself, then it would be selfish, and then even Torah he doesn't have. Okay, so now that's the role of the Kayan, bring down Chachma, and being in general the shuv, the one who brings down and focuses on the job at hand with bitul. Now in Gimel, on one hand, the pasuk says that you bring the Metzorah to the kohen. On the other hand, it says that the kohen goes out to the Metzorah. That's one question. Which one is it? The kohen goes out to the Metzorah, or the Metzorah comes to the kohen? Also, the pasuk says this shall be the Torah of the Metzorah. Why does it say shall be? It should say this is the Torah of Metzorah without the tia. So, to answer these questions, based on the passage in Zohar, where Zohar asks why does it say that the Metzorah is brought to the kohen, it should have said v'hula is brought up to the kohen, because when the kohen down here helps the Metzorah, similarly there's the same thing happening upstairs in the spiritual worlds. And above also, so we have bina, which is in a state of rotza, in a state of elevating upward, which causes spiritual tzara, so that too can be fixed. And instead, that bina will support and strengthen midas, the emotional attributes, in a holy way, and fix the tzaras, fix the spiritual malady through the kohen seeing the tzaras. So that will also guide this spiritual problem to become good again. And won't be able to give any energy anymore to Klippa. So that's what the Zohar says. Now to explain it practically, that although we said that the solution to tzaras is learning Torah, but that is chachma. Before we add positive chachma, we first have to fix up the negative bina. And this is because tshuva is meant to be where you go back and fix up where there was a problem. So if there's a problem in bina, then we have to fix up bina, and then afterwards we can work on bring down chachma. So we have to first awaken the ratzah, the yearning and the passion for Hashem, which comes from bina, but then link it to bitul of chachma, that when our heart, like Chazal say, that when our heart is running, then shavlecha, then return to to the oneness of Hashem. That's the idea of teshuvah, which is tashuv hay, to return the hay, to return bina to chachma, to have both the passion of bina together with the focus on the goal of chachma. And then that's the true tikkun. Because the problem is when the hay is separated from the yud, when bina is separated from chachma, that's when klippa starts to take energy. But when we do teshuvah and link back that bina with chachma, and that's the idea of mimamakim karasecha, that I call out to you, Hashem, from the depths, the two depths of chachma and bina, which correspond to Rotzi and the Shuv, the yearning and the understanding that we've got to stay true to our mission. So that's how we rectify. But if without arousing a Rotzi, a desire and a passion for Hashem, so we can't bring down Chachma without first the desire which comes from Bina. Now, we said that the Levi is about Ratzoi, like the pasuk says, "V'avad HaLevi, the Levi, he works in the base of Mikdash," and he uses the third person he because it's somewhat distant. It's going up and beyond. On the other hand, the Kohanim HaChachma, and therefore the Levium need the Kohanim to guide them in the right way so that the passion stays true to Chachma. But on the other hand, you can't just skip over that passion. It has to be there together with Chachma. And then you have both the Ratzi and Shuv, or actually the spiritual source for Ratzi and Shuv is Mati v'lo Mati. It reaches but doesn't reach. On one hand, it's so it's going up to Hashem. On the other hand, it's still linked. It still knows that the ultimate purpose is our world. So this is the two stages of, and why the pasuk uses the two expressions. V'huvel Kohen, he'll bring it to the Kohen, and the Yatsa Kohen, the Kohen will go out. So v'huvel el Kohen, he'll bring it to the Kohen. That's the Rotzi going up to Hashem. And like the meaning of tshuva, to return the hey to the yud, or like the numerical value of shema, that shema comes from two words, shame and ayin. The first one, shame, is the numerical value of 340. And tshuva is only when you have both together, both the Ratzu, the love and the yearning for Hashem, together with the bitul, the self-nullification to just follow Hashem's instructions, which represent bina and chachma. But you can't get to chachma without first bina. Now, the Levi, his job was with singing in the Beis Hamikdash, and that's about, singing is about yearning and Ratzu going up. Then the Kohanim is the next step, which is shuv, doing what needs to be done. But you can't have Levium without Kohanim, or Kohanim without Levium. Now, this is why it says both v'huvel Kohen and v'yatsa Kohen, both that the Metzorah is brought to the Kohen and the Kohen goes out. So v'huvel Kohen, it's brought to the Kohen. That's the Razzi, which comes from the Bina, so that and we want to bring that Razzi, that yearning, to Chachma, the Kohen representing Chachma. The passion shouldn't be divorced from following instructions and Kabbalah, so obediently following what Hashem wants. Like we said before about how Chachma and Bina always have to be together. Now, Shema Yisrael, so Shema, the word is made up of two. Shema is made up of two parts. The first part, Shin Mem, is the numerical value of 340, which is the Ban plus Rapach. Ban is Hashem's light as it is within worlds, and especially Malchus, Mamale and Malchus. And then Rapach is the 288 sparks of godliness that are latent within the physical world, that really come from a high spiritual source, although it's concealed. So we refine them and bring them back to their source through the third letter of Shema, which is the Ayin. Ayin is the numerical value of 70, which represents the 7 emotional attributes, which are all developed via Bina. So that's all v'huvel Kohen, that that you have to bring the Ratzu, the passion, to the Kohen, that it has to go together with Bina has to go together with Chachma, and then v'yatsa Kohen, the Kohen goes out, is shuv, bring down the shuv, in other words, the actioning Hashem's plan, and bring Hashem's light into kalim, into receptacles. And like we said, that Yaakov breaks through. His name is the same letters as Yibaka, to break through. And it says when Yaakov was born as well, that Yaakov was coming out. It's this idea of breaking through, and similarly, Chachma breaks through and impacts on Bina. And that's why Chachma and Bina are called Train Rain, the two friends that always stay together. And so here too, the idea of both V'huva al Kohen, that they bring the Metzorah to the Kohen and the Kohen going out, are representing this unification of the first one being that Bina consults with, it only works with Chachma, and the second one that about Chachma coming down, bringing down Hashem's light. We asked before, why does it say this will be? Tia, the Torah of the Metzorah, it should just say this is. So the reason it says this will be is that it's saying that through the person working on a shuv, so that's how. Sorry, that even when he's in a state of passions, it's still linked with the shuv. So that's how the Torah on the Torah, he'll be able to actually have the Torah of the Metzorah, which Torah is giving us instruction. That's actual shuvs. In other words, even when you've got you're in a state of passion, it's guided by what needs to be done, and certainly afterwards you'll be able to reach a full shuv. And then so Zoistia Torah Metzorah, then this will be the Torah of the Metzorah, that through this his Torah will be complete, like we said, with the also with the shuv, with Chachma going down to Bina. And then even into the lower midas, like we know that Hashem's name has 4 letters that correspond to Chachma, Bina, and then emotions, and then Malchus. So according to this, the main avodah is a shuv. The Razoo, the passion at the beginning, just gets us going on the right path. But the main thing that we're needed for is actually the shuv, to do what needs to be done, to bring down Hashem's light to be revealed in this world. And yes, we know that just as we know that the earth compared to the heavens is just like a drop, so too, so our Razoo, which is what we want, compared to the shuv, which is what Hashem wants, is like a drop. It's like nothing. And now the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah that a person should always learn, even though he'll forget. And he doesn't, even if he doesn't understand properly. This is because what we need to do is make kalim. So when we learn Torah, even if it's not so deep, we don't rise very high, but at least we bring Hashem into this world through words of Torah over the page. And then through bring Hashem into the world through words of Torah, so then it will be everlasting, will be sustained. Now in Eishes Chayil, the pasuk says that Lo Yisir Elevais Mishalach, she won't be afraid of her household in the snow, because all her household they've all got like a thicker clothes. So what's the spiritual meaning of this pasuk? That the Baheres, which is a type of terrace, is the color of snow. And it means that when it's very white, that means that there's no blood in that part of the skin. The blood normally gives redness to the skin, but when it's very white, then there's a lack of that blood, and therefore it turns white like snow. And this represents spiritually a lack and a departing of Chachma. Now, Torah shel peh, the oral Torah, is often compared to red wool, which is the blood, the opposite of having white. Torah is called Adam, which is made up of two words, Aleph and Dam. Blood, and Torah restores that life, that vitality, and that redness, and that which is the opposite of Taras. And that's the meaning of this pasuk, that you won't fear the snow because it's all in Shani comes from this red wool, which is all about blood and vitality, the opposite of the white like snow, and therefore no tzaras will eventuate. So what have we said? Basically, we've said that tzaras comes only in the absence of chachma, but when we have chachma and we work on both bina, which is connected to ratzik, passion for Hashem, together with chachma getting the job done, so then we don't have any spiritual malady, any tzaras.